the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just let you know that meeting documents are available for your review down next to Commissioner Heiberger if anyone needs any. A reminder to silence your cell phones. And Craig and Carol are here this morning if you need a listening device of any sort. So that takes us to routine business. First, I'd consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
There's supposed to be
That's to amend the minutes. That's the next item. So we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item, I'd consider a motion to amend the liaison report section of the August 11th, 2020 commission meeting minutes to include the words, quote, up to, close quote, before, quote, a 1 cent temporary sales tax, quote, in the third sentence of Commissioner Heiberger's first report.
I'd make that motion, and I would just point out it's in the second paragraph under liaison reports.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item then is to approve the commission meeting minutes for August 11th as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item are bills to be paid in the amount of $6,142,403.33.
Pay the bills.
Motion and second. Any comments?
Madam
Commissioner
Chair, of
Barth.
course, we have a big chunk today, but 4.9 million of that is from our, for motor vehicles that we've registered in Minnehaha County. And I would note that the lines are significantly reduced down there. I really appreciate the workers down there doing that. There's also a $306,000 transfer to the city of Sioux Falls on, is it the library? I can't remember. Anyway, so between those two things, it makes that number not quite as ferocious.
Thank you. Any other comments about the bills? We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item, there's several reports there for your review. We have the Minnehaha County Mobile Crisis Team statistics, which are always really interesting and great to see the good work that they do for folks. The Minnehaha County Register of Deeds Statement of Revenue and the Auditor's Office financial reports. I don't know, is there anybody from the auditor? Ah, there's Vicki. Good morning, Vicki. How are you?
Good. Good morning, Commissioners. Vicki Hewitt from the Auditor's Office. Here with some July financial information. Starting out with the general fund cash balance at $16.3 million, 2.2 million over last year. So we're kind of in the middle of that cash spend down until we get that influx of property taxes again in October. Highway fund cash sitting at $6,889,000, a little over $4 million under last year. And then on to expenditures. Total expenditures at $36,177,000, 56.2% of budget, fairly even with last year. Personnel expenses at $25.5 million, 57.6% of budget. And then other expenses at right at 53% of budget. Total revenues are at $34.6 million, 54.5% of budget, so just slightly under last year. Year-to-date taxes, $25 million, 53.6% of budget, so pretty even with last year. And then other revenues, $9.6 million, 56.8% of budget. Any questions?
For Vicki this morning? All right, thank
All right,
you very
thank
much.
you.
I really appreciate those graphs. They're really easy to grab a lot of information quickly, so thank you. All right, that takes us to item 5, which is personnel actions. I'd consider a motion to approve the routine personnel actions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item, item 6, abatements. There are none. Item 7 is to authorize the county Auditor to publish a request for proposals for the Minnehaha County Jail Comprehensive Institutional Healthcare Services. Warden, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Warden Mike Mattson from the jail. As the document says, we need to go to RFP on our medical services contract. Our current contract is on its last extension, and it expires December 31st of this year. So,
Would make a
Questions for the
motion
warden?
to authorize the auditor to publish that request for proposal.
Motion and a second. Any comments, questions?
I think that contract goes back to 2014, is that correct? I mean, it's been extended for some time.
yeah, the extensions were built into the contract. It was 2 years with 4 extensions, I believe.
Okay. It's time.
All right, motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thanks for coming over. Item 8, planning and zoning notices, there are none. Item 9, petition for compromise of lien, there are none. That takes us to opportunity for public comment. So if you are here for public comment, if you could just come forward, identify yourselves, give your address, that would be great. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sean Nichols. My address is 200 East 10th Street, Suite 200, Sioux Falls. I'm an attorney here in Sioux Falls. I'm here to speak on behalf of residents at Wall Lake very briefly this morning. There's no agenda item, but I wanted to introduce ourselves, put a face to our cause, explain some of our concerns so as future issues develop, particularly with the bike path that we've identified our concern and shared that with you. As you know, there is a bike path that I believe a study has been authorized by the commission with respect to Wall Lake. There are a number of residents out there that are very opposed to the bike path, and I'm here to speak on their behalf. There's a number of individuals in the waiting room. This is kind of a big issue for them. As we've seen this summer with increased traffic, it's really put a spotlight on some of the issues that we've had at Wall Lake with safety and with recreation mixing with residential use. So we have a number of concerns about safety issues, about more traffic, about the ability for the county to police a bike path that is ever installed, and just changing the character of the neighborhood. And so we wanted to address those. I'll be following up with some written information for you to consider as well. Again, we've seen the safety issues this year and with increased traffic and other problems. When you look at the city of Sioux Falls, for example, and recreational land use, and just good land use management as a whole within ordinances or Minnehaha County ordinances in particular, you always look for transition within land use so that there's a buffer between like commercial and then into residential, for example. In particular, when it comes to recreation, you can see in the Sioux Falls recreation system, there is a nice transition between recreational land use and individual land use or residential land use. We don't have that luxury at Wall Lake because the recreation butts right up to residential use. A lot of the people out there moved out to Wall Lake to get out of the city, to have kind of that rural lifestyle. And so our concern of putting the bike trail right up to neighboring property or residential property, that it's going to increase some of the issues that we've seen this summer, increased traffic, inability of the county to police that traffic. We've had reports of neighbors, and I know this isn't related to biking, but people using the Wall Lake area are using private land for bathrooms and just a general disrespect for the residential character of the adjoining property. And we think just putting in a bike path is going to exacerbate that. There's also some issues that have been raised by citizens with respect to the heavy agricultural equipment that will be needing to get through the bike path and some dangers to residents. And then lastly, I would just note we do have 22 miles of bike trails here in Sioux Falls. There's bike trails that are available out at Palisades and some neighboring areas as well. And so the need to spend this additional money just from a public standpoint doesn't seem necessary, since we have adequate recreation and biking opportunities in Sioux Falls, and a 4-mile bike trail we would contend just really doesn't add much to the community as a whole when we have adequate recreation available. Like I said, I'll be following up with some additional information. I just wanted to put a face with our cause and introduce myself today during public comment. There may be some other individuals that would like to speak, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you. So I can recognize that there are different people here maybe on some different issues, but if there's anybody else here that would like to say something about Wall Lake that hasn't already been expressed, I'd just ask that you not repeat items that have already been said, but you're welcome to come forward. Thank you. If you could just give your name and your address, please.
My name is Dwayne Boyce. My address is 26575 East Shore Place, Hartford, South Dakota. I, first of all, want to thank the commission for your service. It's not easy dealing with all these issues, I know, and, you know, we appreciate it. One thing that I believe has been overlooked by the commission is that 70% of the residents in the Wall Lake community, immediate community, oppose this. Now, I read Resolution 2002, and it seemed like you all just kind of whereas yourself right into a corner in support of this before listening to the 70%. Couple issues. Respect for the community. I moved out. I purchased land in the 80s. Permanent residence in 2005. We built a home there. And I respect the community. I respect the people that went before me. I helped take care of the roads in honor of Bergesons and other people. I embrace the community. I didn't come there to change it. I didn't come there to make it a little Sioux Falls, a West Sioux Falls. I came there to respect the people. And when 70% of the people are against something, it's a no-brainer. You don't do it. Safety. I don't even need to talk about how the ambulance screaming, the helicopters coming in, are not going to get better as we attract more people to that area. On the road that comes past Wall Lake Oil and Wall Lake, our driveway, or our road at Wall Lake Place, there's 10 approaches, driveways, and roads that intersect. Now, South Dakota law dictates anyone in a crosswalk has right-of-way. So there is safety issues when you are trying to turn off or onto that highway. You got potential people coming from both sides on the bike path. You've got car travel. There's going to be accidents. There's no lighting there. It has been mentioned there are bike paths. It was also stated that if one person wants it, we're going to push it. Well, I'm asking the commission, respect the 70% rather than the few that want it. Please, side with us, work with us. If you want to improve Wall Lake, start out with the algae. I can't even go in the water now. It's so putrid. Add to the sewer system that's on its last legs. The roads that are all taken care of by us privately. If you want to improve Wall Lake, those are 3 steps. And later on, we can get to bike paths when all of the ag around there is residential. Thank you.
Thank you. So once again, I just want to, I think there's some misconception that we are not actively pursuing anything out at Wall Lake. The county commission has not taken any action other than to help a nonprofit organization pursue a study. But there is nothing in front of the commission. We haven't talked about anything about Wall Lake publicly in quite a while. We're happy to listen to all the comments you guys have, but I just wanted to clarify that to make sure there wasn't a misunderstanding.
I keep hearing that, but it's not a misunderstanding when you read 2002. It says you're all in.
We were in participating in as a conduit for them to look at some funding for looking at it, but we have not taken any action, nor do we really have any authority to do that. But we're happy to listen to comments, and we've gotten correspondence that we've listened to and we've read, but we aren't actively pursuing anything at Wall Lake with respect to a bike path right now. So
well, that declaration said you're going to be participating in maintenance and future.
I don't believe so. We're gonna get a copy of it. I've asked for a copy so we can look at it again, but that was not,
And I was quite alarmed.
okay, thank you.
If I
Commissioner
could-
Karski.
And yeah, somebody seems to stirring the pot here to create this, and I don't fully understand it either, because we have not taken any position, any authority, any action other than saying that a government entity wanted to fund a study, but they needed another government entity
A
to.
nonprofit wanted to fund a study,
Yeah,
and they needed
with
a
government
government
funds.
conduit. That was all we have done.
He agreed
so.
that in order to facilitate conversation, that we would run the money through the county to make that happen. But, yeah, we're not doing anything. We're not taking any action. We have not studied anything. We're not pursuing anything. There's nothing on our agenda, nothing on our table, period. So
Planning and
I'm not too
zoning's
sure
doing
why this is
nothing with
going
it?
on.
So I just wanted to make sure that we were all, that we were clear about that, and I do think there's some misunderstanding about that. So if there's anybody else who is here, because I know there's several people here that came this morning on this issue, if there's somebody else that would like to say something that has not already been said, I just would ask that you not repeat yourself. I'll give other speakers 2 or 3 minutes.
I live
Each.
right next to the beach. I'm Terry Krantz. Already, if you leave your garage doors open on that whole street to the west of me, there's people you have to go kick out of your garages. And I do have a lower garage also, and I don't dare leave that open because there's so many strangers there, and the bike trail will only add to that problem. So I just wanted to mention that we have no privacy anymore out there.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Terry, can we get your address? Mr. Krantz, can we?
6268 266th Street.
Did you get that, Olivia? We just need it for our minutes.
268 266th Street.
Thank you.
Thank you, sorry. Morning.
Good morning. I'm Peggy Bevere. I live at 46271 Wall Lake Place, Hartford, South Dakota. And I'm here to also speak against the Wall Lake project. And I know you say you're a conduit in order to run the funding through, but I think what we're asking is, we don't see any point in even having a funding go through you. The residents of Wall Lake don't want this. 70% don't want it. And I do, if you want copies, I have everybody's name, everybody's address, and how they voted. So you can see that the data is here. I also have a copy here for you of, I believe it's 10 farmers that farm over 4,000 acres around Wall Lake that have voted no. They don't want a bike trail out on Wall Lake. That they have a farming operation, they have a lot of approaches in and out of their farmland, it's a real safety issue. The other thing is with the heavy equipment going over this supposed bike trail, who's gonna repair it every time they go over it and it cracks or breaks apart? So I think what we're saying is, you told the group, the Friends of Wall Lake, that you would be a conduit for them to go ahead and go out and get their funding and run it through you. And we see no purpose in getting the funding when the Wall Lake people don't want the project. So why would you be a conduit for them when the citizens who pay the taxes out there don't want the project? We don't want any part of it. It's a safety issue. We've had enough problems out there this summer, as someone has said. We've had 2 drownings. We've had a riot on the beach. We've had a shooting at the boat docks. We've had a body a mile away dumped in a ditch. And that's all because there's more people out there. And now they want to bring more people out with the bike trails. So we're saying we would prefer that the commission would step back and say we are not going to be a conduit for this fundraising because it's not going to benefit any of the residents and the taxpayers out at Wall Lake. There's many other things that could be done for Wall Lake besides a bike trail.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak about Wall Lake? I know some people are in the room next door.
Madam Chair, could I just say something about Wall Lake?
Craig, could you help her with the paperwork, please? She's trying to, thank you.
Madam Chair, I really appreciate the people coming forward with this, but change is going to happen, whether it happens with this bike path or whether it's a new Walmart out there. But I would also say that I thought some good points were brought up about the maintenance there, the maintenance of the roads, the maintenance of the sanitary sewer district. And I know that it's been a problem for a long time with the algae out there. And the creek that flows in on the northwest side brings in a lot of agricultural debris, shall I say. And, you know, as we go forward, maybe we can find ways to slow that down or stop it. So I think that we've heard some good points here, and I also would reemphasize that we are not appropriating a nickel of county money for this.
Thank you. All right. So,
Robert Colby,
Recognize him even with
636
a
West
mask on.
21st Street, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Madam Chair, Commissioners, I did not come to speak about Wall Lake. But if you ever want to know about the explosion at the wastewater treatment plant that happened when we were working on Wall Lake 3, I was on that liaison to the cleaning up of Wall Lake for 3 years. And Mr. Benniga and I have a common experience dealing with Wall Lake, in spite of the fact he was not there at the time. But, excuse me, I've had this thing for over a year, and I can't get rid of it. The reason I came is more of a look back in the nostalgia, is maybe it's time to reintroduce the what was then called liquor by the drink legislation. We darn near had that passed, where the county would get some of the tax money from alcohol sales. It came so close. It was killed by Pennington County filing a lawsuit. Everybody was in agreement. The County Commission Association, the liquor dealers, legislators, and they said, if you file a lawsuit, killed, it will be dead. And Pennington County has been a nemesis on occasion, and they have some unusual commissioners, or did have then. I don't know if they are still upholding that tradition. It goes everything from Freddie Chick, who was about that tall, to one of the county commissioners who told the naked lady dancing bars that he expected amenities when he came by. I mean, they are cut from a different piece of cloth. Liquor by the drink. You have to look at what alcohol provides for taxes. The U.S. government takes $13.50 per gallon of 50%. That's 100 proof. They'll use a quart of liquor, whiskey, gets $3.40, goes to the feds. When it comes to the state of South Dakota, the state immediately takes $1.50, or $1. So that quart of whiskey has $4.40 of taxes before it gets put into a retail market. Now, if that quart of whiskey sells for 20 bucks, there's some more tax on it. That tax goes to the state and to the city. The state will get another 80 cents on the sale of that quart of whiskey, and the city will get 24 cents. In spite of the fact they don't have a tax on alcohol, they get it on the sale. If that quart of whiskey goes to the bar, you pour liquor by the drink. 1.5 ounces is generally what a mixed drink would be. If you take it straight up like Commissioner Barth, I think, does, it's 2 ounces rather than 1.5 ounces. So in a quart, 32 ounces, that's 16 shots. At $5 a pour, that's $80 for a bottle of whiskey. So there's a lot of tax money that goes to various entities, but it does not go to the county. Now, the city doesn't allocate that extra 2 cents to anything special other than the general fund. The state doesn't take any extra designation for the money when it gets it from the sales tax or when it comes into the coffers of the state and before it gets sold. We made the illustration that everybody gets a nick off of that court except the county. What does the county get? Law enforcement, jail, public defender, prosecution, courts. We pay for all those.
A few years ago, legislation was passed where the state used to get 75%, now they get 50%, and counties get 25%. So when that bill passed, we got $600,000 a year. I don't know what that total is now anymore, but they do share some of that with us.
That is good, because the state has been constantly taking money from the county coffers. There used to be property tax replacement money. In other words, the old liar's tax. They said, we'll get rid of the tax, but we'll give you $500,000 in lieu of that. Until Governor Jankel came and said, you don't need that anymore. That wiped it out. You've been capped on the bank franchise tax. There are other things where you've been added onto your budget that you have to pay for, but you don't have any revenues to bring in to help cover. Now, I think when I started, there was I think our budget was 12 million, and I left at 65. What is it today? So it's not getting any better. You have to keep looking for more revenues, and the revenues have to be something that are on a growth plane. One of the former commissioners used to say, give us 1 cent sales tax, and we'll get rid of our share of property tax. Now, whether or not that would do a supplement or not, I don't know. But it's always been a place. The reason I did this at all, I was going through some research, came across this, and I thought, I'll just take a quick look at it. And I thought, I'll ask a question, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting some funding out of the state for that. But if you need to know anything, if you need to know some more about what has transpired at Wall Lake, I did spend 3 years liaison on the dredging operation out there. And if you think this has a potential of turning into something, you should have been back there then. It was more fun than I wanted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I have to thank Bob for coming in because I don't always appreciate his comments, but I think he is preaching to the choir to a certain extent here. And I know that the state gives us $600,000, but I suspect the cost of alcohol to our community is more like $10 or $12 million a year. You know, we arrest them, they're in our jail. We prosecute them with our attorneys. We defend them with our attorneys. And it continues to mount up. And additionally, I would say that alcohol is the original gateway drug. How many people did meth first? They probably had a few beers, maybe even more than a few. How many people got pregnant under the influence of alcohol? How many people crashed their cars under the influence of alcohol? Alcohol is the original gateway drug, and it's not paying its fair share of the costs related to alcohol. And I think we've all discussed this many times before, but Bob unfortunately has lit the fire under me again here, and I'm forced to speak out. We need to do more. Thank you.
And, I mean, we've kind of breached our rules a little bit today. Typically, public comment, we just listen and we don't talk. And you've had your 5 minutes, Bob, so you could just wrap up quickly, please. Thank you.
Final comment.
Quickly, please.
Jeremiah Murphy, the consummate lobbyist, said to me, yours is the only valid argument talking about alcohol and taxes.
Thank you. I could not disagree with that. All right, is there anyone else here this morning for public comment? I know the auditor has been waiting patiently, and we appreciate you coming this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Commission. Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office. I wanted to bring forward an idea here that I've been working on. And, you know, we've heard a lot of noise about the postal system and the late delivery of ballots lately. And so this idea that I've got dovetails in with that. However, what I would like to do is get some these ballot boxes, the delivery ballot boxes, the style that's up at the top left over there. You can see the wrap on them, and get them placed at 15 different locations. There are 13 of them would be the libraries in and around Sioux Falls out in the county, and then the libraries that are in Sioux Falls, and then I would like to have 2 boxes down here for collecting ballots. One of them out the front of the center west door for this building, and then another one over at the election center, realizing that that one would probably have to be moved eventually. I realize I'm going to lose that space, and elections is going to be looking for a home after this election. But I have, in pursuing this, I've contacted a company, several companies actually, and the one that I like the best is the one that provides the book drops for the libraries in Sioux Falls. But I contacted the city of Baltic, Mike Wendland and Julie Hofert. They would like to see them out there. Out in Brandon, I talked with Paul and Ty Henschel from Brandon Valley School District and at the library near the bike rack, and they're all in favor of it. The city of Colton, the Crooks, the Hartford, and the Humboldt. Alyssa Boyson, I spoke with Alyssa in Crooks, and she is in approval of these, as well as Heather Madison in Colton, Alyssa Boyson, the branch manager in Crooks, Anna Ewell, the finance officer out in Garrettson, Teresa Seidel, and Lois Kieser. Teresa Seidel is the city administrator, and Lois is in charge of the community center out there. In Humboldt, Nicole Bear is the finance officer. She's in favor of these. In Valley Springs, Linda Hunnell, the finance officer, she also thinks this is to be a good idea. Dells has to be approached separately, and I've not done that yet. But the Sioux Falls branches, the Cali branch, the Oakview branch, the Prairie West branch, and the Ronning branch would be the other ones that I would like. The downtown library over here, I don't think would need one due to the proximity of boxes that we could place down here. I also have talked to the state's attorney. I've talked to the Secretary of State, Steve Barnett, and he thinks it's a good idea, and he has no concerns with it. I did talk with Donna Kelly from the state's attorney's office, because there's going to have to be an agreement wrote up, because this will be county property, either put on library or city properties that house the libraries, and that will vary a little bit. The city of Sioux Falls obviously has their own libraries. But I've talked to them about that. We've got an agreement, a tentative agreement. Drew DeGroot would be the guy that would look at it. That's not going to come to the end of the week. And I realize this is a little bit awkward. It almost seems like I'm putting the cart ahead of the horse. However, I'm dealing with a deadline on these. I've got to get an order in soon in order for us to get them in the first part of October, and that's where they'll be the most effective. The other reason that I wanted to do this is last time when we had absentee ballots, those over 40% of those ballots came the last week, and I'm hoping that this will alleviate some of that buildup toward the end of the right before the election. Human nature being what it is, people tend to wait to the last minute unless you make it convenient for them, and so that is another one of my really prominent reasons that I'd like to get these here, is to even that ballot flow out. If I get a bunch of ballots at the end of the thing, I don't care how big of a task force I've got, and I've got a lot of people working on it this time that will be working on these ballots. I've got a group of over 22 people signed up so far, and we've not started yet. But if I don't figure out some way of evening out that flow of ballots to come back in here, I'm going to have the same issues I had last time, because nothing is probably going to change. We'll have over 21,000 ballots that we're going to drop in the mail at this point on September 18th. And how they're going to come back, I have no idea. Now, last time, for comparison, Secretary Barnett's his ballot request form that he sent out to everybody started, after that absentee ballot period. And so we got these ballots that came in as a lump after the original ballot drop, the absentee ballot drop. So I know I'm kind of jumping around here, and I know you guys have got some questions. And why don't we, if you got questions of me, I'd like to answer those. I think that would be more demonstrative than me sitting up here and talking about it in the fashion that I've done so far.
Which is really not what we do during public comment. Typically, we just didn't get this information quick enough to get it on the regular agenda. I think if you guys have a few questions, you could, or I think it might be better to try to set up an email, email Bob. I had, when Bob first indicated that this was something he was thinking about, I have had a chance to email him on Monday and get some feedback. So, and I know the task force that he put together, this was an idea that came out of that task force. So there are, ideas that he's thought through about security and, location and security cameras and things like that. But, it is an issue that bears some thought. And I think we have a week now to kind of interact with Bob on this issue. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
All right.
Commissioner
I'm sure I
Barth,
would
do you?
just say one thing, which is I think that the auditor ought to be on our agenda every week at this point as an agenda item.
We can work on getting updates from the auditor and make sure that we get timely updates. I know next week we have a report coming, I believe, from this task force that you put together following the last election, and so that will provide, I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of great information in that. So.
Okay, and I would request that you get your questions to me as soon as you can. Time is of the essence on this. If I get a contract approved by the state's attorney for the manufacturing of these boxes, right now, as it stands, I'll get them the first part of October, which will be prime season for doing that. But every week it goes into there, I think the value of these diminishes. And so please get your questions to me as soon as you can, and I'll answer them as quickly as I can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to regular business. First item, item 10, is a public hearing to consider a 2021 retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license for Huset's Speedway. Olivia.
Good morning, Olivia Larson, Auditor's Office. We received an application for an annual malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license. It would be for the year 2020-2021 licensing period. And we do have, I believe, Mr. Johnson here with Huset's to answer any questions for you. The application was sent to the Sheriff's Department, Planning and Zoning, and State's Attorney, and I did not receive any concerns from those departments.
Okay, so the proponent, if you'd like to speak, you're welcome to.
Doug Johnson, General Manager, Huset's Speedway. We just basically have applied for a liquor license for the 2021 season. As we move forward, we have no intent as of this year. We've got Kyle with 212 doing our liquor and beverages, so we're actually applying for the 2021 season as we move forward for our regular Sunday night shows and special events. So.
Any questions? All right, if there's anyone here opposed to this, this is your opportunity to speak.
I'll make a motion to approve and just say be safe out there.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Benega?
Aye.
Heiberger?
Aye.
Karski?
Aye.
Barth?
Aye.
Bender?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to item 11. Consider a motion to authorize an automatic budget supplement of $325,000 for the allotted Sioux Falls funds. Lori Montes. Lori, are you on the phone?
Good morning, Commission. This is Carrie. Actually, I'm taking the place of Lori this morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So this morning before you is our request to have an automatic budget supplement for the $300,000 that was given to us the second round from Sioux Falls. We were originally provided with $25,000 that was for assistance to house people in motels that were homeless in the incidents related to COVID. And now they have obviously then come around for the second time providing us with $300,000. So to access that, per the auditor's office, we needed to have you provide the approval for the automatic budget supplement for that $325,000. So that's what we're here to ask you for today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions for Carrie?
I would make a motion to approve the automatic budget supplement.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Hiberger,
Aye.
Karski,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Bender.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 12, Minnehaha County Commissioner Liaison Reports. Are there any liaison reports today?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Barth.
I've been in communication with ambulance folks, and in Garrettson, it looks like they are going to need to buy a new ambulance, and that's a very large expense for them. And I don't have a plan to deal with that at this point, but it looks like it's going to be, between $140,000 and $220,000. And in talking to Tim Even over in Humboldt, he said that they are also looking at getting an ambulance. And obviously, we need these volunteer units to function. And at least in the comments that I read about the Garrettson ambulance, they had to cancel their 2 fundraisers because of the illness in the area. And so their revenue is being cut. And they actually have had about the same number of calls as they previously did, but they couldn't have their breakfast or whatever they do. And I find that to be very concerning because it's not that I don't expect change in ambulances. Obviously, it's not going to stay the same forever, but we can't afford to have any of them quit operating, even if it's because they don't have a vehicle. And I just throw this out for us to think about.
Thank you. Other liaison reports? Any other liaison reports? I had a meeting with DJ Boothie with the highway this morning, and their projects this summer continue to move forward. They're doing some managing of their budget to make sure that they can keep an adequate cash balance at the end of the year. So a few projects are, people have agreed to move them into the next year. So, and he's very excited about the tour that Commissioner Karski and Commissioner Benega are going on to look at, just kind of start the process now that we have a contractor, CMAR, and architect on the new highway facility. And so I appreciate the work that Commissioners Karski and Benega are doing. You guys have spent a lot of hours on that in the last few weeks. So I look forward to hearing all that you learn on those tours. So thank you for doing that. Any other liaison reports? All right, new business, any new business? Old business? If none, I'd consider a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'll recess for about 6 to 10 minutes and give folks a chance to move on out, and then we'll have executive session.